and welcome back to the Downseller Studio YouTube channel. I'm Jen.
And I'm Diane, or Boston Jen's mom.
And we're here for part 2 of our health update. Where we left you last was at the end of April, all of the accident aftermath, and we're going to continue with May and June.
And I know you're probably saying, really? Really did this happen? Like, this seems so unbelievable. And you already have stage 4 cancer that's mets to the brain. And now you have to deal with this. Well, guess what?
That's how we feel about that too.
And you don't get to pick. And that's what's called life. And life is what I've been trying very, 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 very hard to keep living. And so we were lucky, extremely lucky, to not have been killed in that car accident.
For sure.
I'm not quite sure how that happened, but we were not. And so...
But it also doesn't feel lucky when you've got all of these problems, all this pain, 8 million more doctor's appointments to go to. So on one hand, yes, obviously very lucky. But
and it's not fair. Like, it's not fair that, like, I had so many things already in my limited time frame that I needed to get done in my brain. The things I wanted to get done, and the things that I would like to get done, and then the things that would maybe get done, and then a pile of things that wouldn't get done. And now it seems like there's just one pile, and it's all things that aren't getting done because I can't move. I haven't been able to move since April 18th. I've been sitting in a chair or a wheelchair or whatever, but I go to bed at night. I get up, I come out and sit in the chair in the sunroom. I go back to bed at night, and there's nothing else done during the day but watch TV or go in the pool with the kids, or if they're here or something like that.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of adventures as you've been feeling a little better, but it's not like even just puttering around or organizing some things or doing stuff
I can't
on your
do
list.
I can't go down cellar. Can't go upstairs.
Yeah.
The only good thing that has come out of it is we did get someone to clean our house once. She was amazing. Thank you, Linda Freeman, for helping me find her.
Yeah. That was good.
But that's really the only good thing. And then we had to put our mind to doing all things that we really didn't want to learn about. We had to learn about buying a new car. What car did we want? How do you buy a car today? We didn't buy one since 2014. So everything's different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, especially the way the economy is right now and the demand for cars is so high. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
And the bills are rolling in from the car accident. And so, and now Rick is starting to feel better. So he wants to rent the car. So they had given us a number of a place in Whitman to rent the car at. So we called them and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. We'll get you a van for tomorrow, because we needed the same kind of car size that we had because we had friends coming in for Mother's Day, and we needed to pick all different ones up at the airport. And Dad thought he could do it all. Well, it didn't happen that way, but he thought he needed the big car to get all the people back in their luggage and everything back. So he goes to pick the car up the next day, and they say, oh, well, your rental period's over. Well, I want to say, what the F did you get the car for the day before if we wouldn't be able to rent it on the next day?
Right.
Like, that made no sense to me. So my poor husband is down there. They have to call. They canceled the claim because they said that we didn't use it in the period of time. Well, who put the claim in for that period? We couldn't drive.
And
why would
and you had told them we weren't going to get the car right away, so that wasn't a surprise.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The whole thing was ridiculous. A million phone calls, a million this, a million that.
Yeah.
They get the guy, so we get the guy on the phone and he says, oh, well, I'll give you a different claim number. It'll be good for like 7 to 10 days. And then he's like, but you can extend it.
You just extend it.
And they put it in an email to us in writing that we had it for 30 days. Our policy said 30 days.
Right.
So then we were done. We needed to extend it. And they said, oh, no, you can't. It's over. And we're like, no, I have it in writing from him. They're like, oh, that's just, you get 30 days if you have to bring your car in for service. And that, I go, oh, okay, wait. So because mine's totaled,
It can't be serviced.
I don't get the same benefits that I would get if I brought it in to get fixed.
Yeah.
Like this, and you say that can't happen. Okay, well, this is what they're telling us.
Yeah.
It was horrendous.
Ridiculous.
And so then we couldn't, so we're talking to the car place because we don't want to get arrested for driving a rental car that we no longer have permission to drive.
Right.
So we get the guy and he's like, well, I'll keep it open for you, but we're going to have to change it to the full price because they were supposed to pay $30 a day. We're still paying $30 a day ourselves because we had to get a car comparable to ours, which we shouldn't be paying anything, by the way.
Yeah, it wasn't your fault you got in the accident.
No. So it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. And insurance is not out for you. They do not want to pay anything. And it's made very clear by what happened to us. So it was every inch of it was that we did not need at this time. I didn't need to be doing all of that stuff. And I'm not trying to whine. I'm just saying I have enough to just think every day.
Yeah.
And I now have to try to read these things and figure this thing out and figure that thing out. It was all too much. And then when we were looking for cars, every time we would find the car that I would think he would want, I would call and it was already sold.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. So then this one car came up I was looking on, trying to think of the name of it. But whatever website it was, they put up the car. It's like if it tells you when you have a car accident, like on your car, you can check that. Oh, Carfax. Okay. That's what it's called. So Carfax has a website. It's really good. And they put cars in as they get them in Massachusetts or wherever you're at. Mm-hmm. And it checks to see if it had a car accident. Mm-hmm. So I found one in Somerset, Mass. And it was a Chrysler Pacifica. And that's what he was looking to get because he wanted something that the seats went into the ground, that he didn't have to take the second row of seating out. So all it said was used Chrysler Pacifica Limited, like 12,000 miles or something, white. Yeah. No pictures, nothing else, no accidents. Because they didn't have so I called to see if we could
get an appointment.
We could go see it. I didn't know. And the guy said they didn't have it, that it was being a trade-in for that. Once they got it, we could come. So they had an appointment they called and said, it's going to be here Saturday. Can you come at 10? So Dad said, yeah. And he went down and the car was amazing. It had like all the things that he wanted. And mind you, it didn't have any information except for that it didn't have an accident. And so
it has every bell and whistle.
It has skylight all the way back to the very back of the van, like crazy. It has roof racks. It has a pull for a tow thing. It has movie screens in the backs of the front seats. It has a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, stuff you didn't even know was available as a car feature.
No, there was a lot of stuff in it.
A lot of stuff.
Anyway, heated and ventilated front seats.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls up when he got there, and he's like, "It's amazing, but I don't know if I can abide by this one thing." I go, "What?" "It's brown inside."
Well, it's two-tone. It's brown and black.
Yeah, he didn't say that. And so I said to him, "Well, take some pictures and send it to us."
He emailed us some photos. We weren't sure we were thrilled either. It looked very stark, like the contrast between the
white
browns
outside.
And the brown was like a coffee, not like
my coffee,
not like chocolate brown.
You know what he said?
Well, no, like coffee with milk, not black coffee.
He said he got it because you wouldn't see it if I spilled coffee all over the car.
I mean, not a bad call.
But
he bought it.
He bought it. So then he comes home. He goes, "I bought it." And we had all told him, different ones of us that were here had said, give it a month. You're not even gonna, it's not gonna make a difference, And then he was kidding and he told Riley, he's like, "I'm just gonna paint the seats." And she's like, "Pepe, you can't do that. They'll all crack. You can't paint the seats."
But we told him he could get slip covers they make for those kinds of things. Like, there's options. And plus,
Jen could crochet them.
We
can
make a million blankets. We'd figure it out.
So, the next day he was sitting out in the sunroom. He goes, "I think I made a big mistake." He's like, "I really think I'm not going to like it." I said, "Well, if you made a big mistake, you can sell it in a year. Who cares? Let's just get through this."
And we didn't have the car at that point. They had to wait, and then they were going to drop it off to you, and there was a whole rigmarole about actually getting it. So you didn't have it right away.
Right. No.
Even though you bought it.
They didn't have the title for it because it was a rental car. No.
It was a trade-in.
A lease car.
Yeah. They had to get the lease.
Yeah. So it's longer to get the titles from the lease companies. But when they brought it here, it was in our garage, and the lady's showing us all the things, and the movie screens still have the
protective film
on it. The headphones and the remotes and the batteries are all in their original packages in each pocket.
Yeah,
wrapped
sealed
up.
in plastic.
The vacuum is bubble wrapped, and I don't know why you'd bubble wrap a vacuum, but it was.
Well, who knows where they transport them from?
So the people never used it. So
None of the features.
So I pulled my head back outside of the car, and I said to the lady, "Did they ever go in the back seat?" She goes, "No, they never did. But they used it for the same feature that your husband wanted. He wanted to put the seats down because they have a place up north, and they would fill it. So they must have had a boat that they pulled. Yeah. And then they had the whole back filled with stuff. Yeah. But they didn't use any of the things in the back." No. So, and she goes, "And that's who I'm ordering another all the bells and whistles car from right now. They had turned this one in to get the one. The new one that they're getting." So
finish up this part with what Dad said like an hour after he got the car.
Oh, so then the lady finished telling us all the stuff, and she's like, "Congratulations," all the whole thing, and then she leaves. And so he's walking around. I go, "Rick, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe the things that are in this car. We never, I want a skylight. And then I wanted roof racks for him so he could, if he ever decided to take the kayak out, he could have roof racks to put on, the kayak on. But they weren't on, every car we looked, they weren't on the same car." Okay, what?
Okay, you were saying that some of the features were on some cars but not the others?
Yeah, so in the packaging, they would put a skylight or they would put roof racks. They didn't usually have both, so you'd have to add it on. And so this one had like all the things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I was pleased with it. And I said to him, you're going to get used to the color. It's not bad. Like once you really got into it,
Yeah.
like it wasn't bad. And so I came in, and then he stayed out there putting around, because we called what we had in the garage car in a bag, because Jen had gone to our car and took home everything from our car. And so things that we weren't going to bring back into the house, we just put it all in a bag. So we called it car in a bag.
Yeah.
So I think we had like 2 bags of that stuff. And so he stayed out behind, and he was like putzing around, emptying our car in a bag to put in the actual real car that we had. And then he comes in about an hour later, and he's like, you know, I don't think it's going to bother me. I'm like, an hour?
What?
1 hour. Your biggest mistake you ever made, and you're good with it in an hour.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I don't think it's going to bother me. So I immediately called Trish, because Trish was like, give it a month, you'll be good. You know, you probably won't even know. And an hour. So I dialed Trish, and she's laughing so hard.
Huh?
If I put her on speakerphone, she's still laughing at Rick, you know, like, oh my God. So that was a wonderful blessing that we got, you know, all the things that he could have ever possibly wanted in the car. Whether he uses them or not is another story, but he's got them all there. The kids love them.
Yeah. He'll never have to talk to Millie again.
No.
So there's that.
No. He went to pick Millie up, and she said, Pepe, now you'll never have to talk to me again. No, I'll never have to talk to you again. Because she has a screen on the back of the seat, in the seat that she sits in, and she'll be very busy and content.
She's good.
Not having to talk to him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really made him happy, but it did make him laugh. Yeah, so there was that. But that was good. But then the bills kept coming in, and because I had to go to Mass General to get that scan, and then I had to go to the knee doctor and the foot doctor.
Then there was a weight-bearing CT and 2 separate MRIs on your foot to figure out what's going on.
Who knew that? Like we didn't. So they said I needed a foot and ankle MRI. So we're like, okay. So Jen's calling to make it to see if we can like line it up with the appointments that we had, so we didn't have to go in another day. And the guy's like, no, it's going to be really difficult to get these two back to back. And she's like, back to back? I just need a foot and ankle MRI. And he goes, yeah.
2 separate things.
Yeah, and both 45 minutes long. Laying flat on your back on a table.
Well, it was a little bit quicker because they were able to do it back to back, right? I don't think you were there a full
hour. Well, because
you
missed setup again,
right?
All that, but I was still, the time that I was in the machine, that doesn't change, you know.
Right.
So,
so that brings us back to the beginning of May.
Yeah. So, when were those?
That was the 2nd. May 2nd. We did find out that you did need surgery on your foot, so that was one silver lining, but then we did find out that it was broken and your tendon was torn. So that was all in the first week of May.
No, I don't. Did I see that foot doctor No.
We saw Dr. Lozano, not the other one was May 15th.
That's when May 15th was when we found out that I didn't need surgery.
Okay.
But the Dr. Lozano one, he didn't think the MRI was going to really show what he wanted it to show, and he wanted a weight-bearing CT. Yeah. So I was like, yay, I don't have to go for the other ones? He goes, no.
You should still do that. And then once you had the MRI and we found out things were broken, we're like, great, now she doesn't have to do the weight-bearing CT. He's like, oh no, I still want that one too. So it was a million tests.
on when we saw Dr. Lozano, he still wanted to get the weight-bearing CT, but he also put me in a walking boot.
Yeah, just to protect the foot while we didn't know what was going on. It was getting so swollen and so painful. He knew we needed to do something to protect it. So
yeah.
You also had a cardiac follow-up after the January inpatient stay that you had the day after we saw Dr. Lozano. They said that you could go back on the Eliquis at that point because you were off that for a little while because of the brain bleed.
Yeah.
Right?
But because I had the brain tumors, then it was like, well, you can either have a stroke from your heart and the blood going.
Yeah, if you don't take the Eliquis, you run the risk of a clot, which causes a stroke. But because of the brain metastases, you're more likely to have a brain bleed. So it's like a fine line. Like they didn't really give super clear guidance on what the safest thing is to do because frankly, both sides of that are risky. So that was a pretty frustrating appointment.
Yeah, and then even after that, when they contacted me back later, they said basically it was the same thing. Like you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Like there's no
guideline. No clear answer.
Yeah. So like I'm a doctor, heart doctor now.
Yeah, make your decisions. Yeah. Congratulations, cardiologist.
I don't want to do any of it. Thank you. Okay.
No. Well, let's do something more fun. So May 12th was Mother's Day. And like you said, you had a whole bunch of friends in from out of town. So we had Vicky and Katie, Patrick and Simon, Cheryl, and Julie and Chris all came in.
It was crazy.
So crazy. You guys were still kind of in rough shape at that point.
We were in very rough shape. I couldn't even I still couldn't get out of the chair, and no one was knowing why yet. And so...
Yeah, that was kind of wild. But we made it work. We all came over, and Jeff, Dan, Melissa, and I made brunch for Mother's Day. So that was fun. We had delicious French toast and omelets and there was a ridiculous amount of food, but it was really fun.
No, and Dad did not end up going to pick up everyone like he wanted to.
He didn't. No, thankfully we had some help.
We had help with that. Trish picked up some, and he picked up Cheryl, and he went to pick. Now this, mind you, it's like the first time he drove.
Yeah.
Not
since the accident. Yeah.
So
in the rental at that point.
Yeah. He came home, and he ended up going in and taking a nap because he was exhausted. Done. So thank God he didn't have to go pick up other people. He probably would have done it, but it would have been too much for him.
There's still a lot of pacing ourselves at that point.
Simon and Patrick had rented a car. Julie and Chris had rented a car, so we didn't have to get any of them, which made that better as well. So
no, and folks were good about, like, you guys would go off and take a nap or, do a little whatever you needed to while there was enough people here they could entertain themselves if they had to. So it was, we weren't really worried about it, but.
It was so nice having everyone here, too, because, like, the conversations were so fun. Yeah. And, you would think that it would be all about reselling, but it really wasn't. It was, that got sprinkled in there occasionally, and people got on rants about something or other, but most of the time it was just fun stuff, and they all took time out of their lives to come and hang out with me. And that was really cool.
Yeah. Patrick and Simon had never been here before, and they hadn't met Dad or Dan or any of the rest of the family, so that was cool too.
Yeah, they're so nice. You got to meet them.
I knew Patrick and Simon.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying I had already. Yes.
You got to meet them.
Yep.
The voice doesn't work that good.
And then in the afternoon on Mother's Day.
This was really fun. Some of us, not all of us, went to Millie was in The Wizard of Oz, and it was so good. Now, everyone thought it was like a kid's like a school production, and that I was going to make them go to this school production thing.
Yeah.
It was so
good. It was mostly adults. The kids were munchkins and monkeys and things like that, and that's what Millie was. But
yeah, and they all loved it.
It was
Everyone
so good.
loved it. The only problem with it was there were 9,000, probably not that many, but in my walking
Stairs.
to get into the building and then
Yeah.
to get out, oh, that was tough. I did it though. I got out, got in. That was really tough. So, anyways, that was great. And then we ordered out dinner at night and everyone ate here, and that was really fun. So the next day, it was Monday, and I had thrown together a meeting to introduce Denise Feeney as someone who was going to replace me and work with Trish to do the meetups. I would still help them, but if they wanted to go on, then those would be the two people that would make it go
for
on.
Your eBay New England
sellers meeting, yeah. And so we set up, and I didn't care if anyone else came but us. It was we could go out to dinner, and it wasn't like, but oh my God, people came.
Like, so many people came. It was fun.
Yeah, there was like 40 people there. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
This was crazy. People came down from New Hampshire, and it was really, really awesome.
And you had shared it on Facebook, so even non-reseller people. So Liz and I came to support you guys, and then Meg Rowan came and Gail Gilman came. So they're not sellers, but they still wanted to come just because you were doing a meeting. So that was good.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
So, and then the next day they all started leaving.
Yeah.
So.
So then May 15th, you had the appointment with the other Dr. Yu, the other orthopedic doctor.
Yeah. And he basically said,
no surgery. Yeah. So that was good.
And that he wanted it to be non-weight bearing, which, they called me, which I forgot to say. The day after we had the MRIs, Dr. Lozano's office called and said that they wanted me to not walk on that walking boot that they gave me. And they wanted me to use crutches. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot use crutches. I'm telling you, people, my whole chest is killing me. And so then Rick kind of mouthed to me, what about the walker? Can you just use the walker? And so I asked that, and she's like, well, yeah, I guess, but it's
not completely non-weight bearing.
But it's not like I got on a train to go to work and have to walk on it like that. All I had to do was walk from the bedroom out here and then back and forth to the bathroom. And so when I went to see this doctor, he said that I didn't need an operation. The operation would have been to put pins in to keep the things together.
Right.
So my fractures are non-displaced. Mm-hmm. And so that meant they were still lined up, but they were fractured. So, and that's why Dr. Lozano wanted to have the weight-bearing one, because if you push down on it, it can spread open, and that's where it would tell you the truth about that fracture.
Yeah.
So, basically that was all. And he gave me permission to walk to the bathroom without, putting weight on it. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm the foot doctor. I can tell you that, but I still didn't. I tried not to, do that. And then Rick would put me in the wheelchair, and like if I took a shower, I'd get showered, and then instead of putting the boot on right then in the bathroom, he would pick me up at the bathroom door and wheel me to the bedroom. Yeah. And then I'd finish getting dressed and put the boot on in there, and then the walker, I would walk out.
Yeah.
But some nights I would be too tired. Like I would take the boot off out here sitting with my foot up, but some nights it would be too tired to even put the boot back on.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, just get to the door and I'll pick you up in the wheelchair and take you to the room. And so we did that a few times, but so that was the outcome of he was just basically to say I didn't need an operation.
Yeah, which that was good news.
Yeah.
We really didn't want to have to worry about that.
No.
And then that same day, May 15th, you had your MRI and CT, and then we checked in with the oncologist the next day. That's when you found out, because you've had so many CTs, they were able to compare to before the accident.
Yeah.
So that's when they figured out the rib fracture and the sternum fracture, because they had something to compare it to from before.
Yeah. Dr. Lynn, while we were there, she called the person who read the image and said, "Can you just check what you told me about that?" And while he was on the phone with her, he confirmed that those had happened after the last scan that I had had.
Yeah, so it had to be the accident.
Right. And so, even though there's nothing you can do for a broken rib or a broken sternum, it really would have been nice to know that I wasn't crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I wasn't crazy about this pain that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And how come I'm not getting better? How come I can't still lay in bed? Why can't I get up out of the chair? I still can't roll to my right side. Mm-hmm. So something else is still, now, before I couldn't roll over at all. Then I was able to, I thought I could move a little bit to my right, and I tried to put a little pillow behind me. I couldn't do it. It wasn't working. But then now I can go to my left, but I still can't go to my right.
Yeah.
No. So it would have been nice to know that I had that.
Yeah.
But it does show that I'm tougher than Rick, because Rick slept in a chair for 2.5 weeks, and I went to bed the first night that I got home with a broken sternum and a broken rib. He doesn't think that that's funny. He's watching us. What else?
May 21st, you did the weight-bearing CT.
Yeah,
and then Dr. Lozano follow-up, and then you saw Henning from Radiation Oncology and did an MRI of your lumbar spine. Because, there just weren't enough visits already in this calendar.
So the problem with that was my right knee that got messed up. It's numb up from underneath the knee all the way up the right side of my thigh. It still is. So, I don't know, they found something in the x-ray, and they called me and said that they wanted me to go to Spalding in Braintree for physical therapy, and I told them no. I cannot do that right now. Done. Yeah. I don't know. No one called me to tell me what the result of it was, but just that I had to go to physical therapy, and I'm like...
No. And we talked to your oncologist, and she thought that was just fine for now, so... Yeah. Then it was Memorial Day weekend. That's when Dad actually got the van, right? Or bought it. We didn't get it yet. But we had 2 awesome pool days here. It was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, it was very nice. We had fun. Yeah. Jenny came with Vera.
Mm-hmm. Pat brought his girls over.
Yeah.
Kara came over.
With the kids.
Yeah, we had a good bunch. Fun. Yeah. And then May 31st, we went to see Come From Away at the Opera House with Meg and Chris. Just us.
Yeah. It was really...
That was a good show. Really good show.
Well, Meg and us went to dinner.
We did, yep.
And then Henning called while we were at dinner, but I didn't hear it. And there was a study for whole brain radiation that is more brain...
Like memory saving is kind of how they describe it, right?
Than the one I was going to get, but it's not available to everyone yet. Mm-hmm. And so, but along with it comes other testing, which can be good, Yeah. But it's just more time out of your life. And so you have to decide. Again, now I'm doing more homework. So I messaged him on Gateway to send me a copy of it. So he sent it to us. And we were trying to go over it ahead of time to see if we thought it was doable. And so they're going to do they took pictures. I don't think I told you this. When I went for my sim, they took pictures of my hair, my head,
Oh,
the shape
interesting.
of my head.
Okay. Huh.
So
That's part of it.
yeah, that's one thing. And then there's cortisol thing. That's another part of it. There's memory, and they have you take a pill for
It's like an anti-dementia medicine
yeah,
to see if that in combination with this other kind of radiation is helpful.
right. So
So you did end up signing up for that.
yeah. So I guess I was going to have that mematine or whatever, however you say it. I was going to have it on either one, which Henning hadn't said.
Okay.
But when I asked him about it, he said, "Well, yes, you were going to have it on mine too." You know.
Okay.
So, because it helps, like, I don't know if it's clear in these things, but I lose words. I lose, sometimes I lose like the whole sentence. I was trying to tell Liz that weekend, Liz and Trish were here Memorial Day weekend, we were playing games, and we were missing marbles for the Mancala game, and I was trying to tell her that there were marbles in the dining room in a dish. None of that came out. It came out like blah, 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 blah. Like what I tried it like 3 times. It didn't come out. And she goes, I'll go find it. So she came back with them, and I'm like, oh my God, like, how did you do that? And she goes, I asked Rick in the kitchen. I was like, dang, I thought you got it from what I said. She goes, no, I didn't. But sometimes it's not all the time. It's usually the same word, though. There's words that don't stay. It's usually the same one every single time. Like my treatment before was going to be HAW, whole brain, WBRT. And HA stands for
HA. What is that?
It's a hippocampus.
That wouldn't be HA though.
Hippocampus avoidance.
Avoidance.
Yes.
Okay.
Whole brain radiation.
HA.
Can never think of it.
Yeah.
Never think of it. I thought of it then.
Yeah.
But that word, like every single time, does not come out.
Yeah.
So it's so frustrating because I want to say that word. Like I want it to come out, but it won't come out.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, and I don't like to take credit for this, but when we went in to see Henning for the CT sim, I was telling him all the things about him and Jeff and when he worked at Boston Medical Center and
all your memories from a long time ago.
And he's like,
I don't remember.
I don't remember any of that. And he goes, so I was telling Henning all of our memories from Boston Medical Center, and he's like, I don't remember any of that. And Dad goes, I remember her telling me that about the dehumidifier, and he doesn't remember anything either. So for him to like pipe up and go, oh, I remember that story, you know.
He vouched for you.
Yeah. So
Jeff goes, I remember getting a dehumidifier. I didn't know where it came from.
But Henning helped me carry it to the car because I didn't want to get arrested for stealing something from Boston. Not that I would, but
yeah,
you know, I just was like, you can carry it out. He's like, that's a really good story. I can't wait to treat you. We'll have lots of good stories. But like I say, I'm forgetting all of these things, or I'm not, like I can't read the stuff as it comes in, or I can't do all this stuff. But I still, they feel like I'm fine and that I'm not slow. But I, in myself, I feel like I'm way behind in everything, you know? So.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
So that brings us into June. June 5th, Susan brought you into Mass Eye and Ear to see the otologist about your hearing.
Yeah, poor Susan.
That was a tough day. You weren't
Yeah.
feeling well.
No, I got sick when we were at the hospital, and then I got sick when they sat me in the chair, and I said to the girl, I need to go to the bathroom. And so then she had to come out and find us, and Susan was like, she's getting sick. And so the nurse went and told the doctor.
Yeah.
And so then I got sick after we left the appointment.
Yeah.
But the doctor, because he knew that I was sick, and I said to him, oh, I usually get car sick. He goes, you weren't in the car. And I go, no, but
Yeah, the motion from the way in.
And he's like, no. He goes, you have silent migraines. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah, it's silent migraines, that you don't have any pain in your head, but are you loud noises, loud
Repetitive
music,
noises.
repetitive sounds, nausea, and there was something else. And he said, all of those things are silent migraines. And they're hereditary.
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah. And so they're actually called vestibular
migraines.
Yeah. So Riley, Millie, Jen probably, we have a throw up map across the United States.
Jeff too, although now he usually drives, which helps, but.
Right. But so I think we're all affected by this one thing. But again, I was glad to hear it, but again, I got one more thing that has no cure. So, so that he said that I did lose the high notes in my left ear. They were not caused by the brain tumors, that they were definitely caused by the chemo, that they may or may not come back. But my rest of my hearing is fine, and not to worry about it. So, and make an appointment to come back in a year for him, for that. So, yeah, so that was kind of good news, because I thought it might have been a brain tumor that was causing it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the best news you could have gotten, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then on June 8th, we had Ayla's voice recital, which you were able to hear, and dinner afterwards, so that was nice.
That was nice. Yeah.
We had fun. And then the next day was Vera's baptism. We had a big party at Susan's house. It was like a disgusting rainy day, and then as soon as we got there, the sun came out, and it was a beautiful afternoon.
Yeah, it rained while we were in church.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was done. And she didn't cry when they poured the water on her, and she was fine.
Yeah. She's such a chill baby.
Did a good job.
Then June 11th, Colleen and Patrick had their little boy, Owen Montgomery.
Yeah, so these babies, 3 of them were pregnant, and I was very distressed that I wasn't going to meet these babies. And so we got Vera, now we've got Owen, and now Connor and Carly are still pregnant, but then we also got a new one to come. Not until August, but Joe and Velma are going to have another one.
Yep, they're having a boy.
In August. So I'm like, oh, gosh. All these dates. I'm not going to be able to
them on your list.
See these babies,
But you did. And then a big one, June 12th.
Yeah, Garrett's graduation. It was so awesome.
8th grade.
Because he wanted that to be our goal. And he wasn't sure when the graduation was going to be last summer, when he said, you went to Riley's graduation. My heart sunk. I knew what he was going to ask. And I said to him, well, we'll make it a goal. Never did I think I was going to make that goal. And we made that goal. And now, we're going to be here for Connor and Carly's. So, and they had their baby.
Yep. 2 days later, the 14th.
And that's Miles Douglas Fortin.
Yeah.
And he's tiny, unlike Vera.
He was 6'12", a far cry from 10 pounds. So he looks like a peanut.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah.
And healthy.
Yep.
So that's all, And I haven't got to see him yet, or Owen yet.
Right.
But
we got pictures. That's
yeah.
been good. And then June 15th, you had 2 dance recitals to go to, both of which were pretty cool, I think. Right?
Never.
At literally the same time.
Never has this happened, ever. And Millie was in it, Riley was in it, and then Terry's last dance recital was the other one. And so then...
In Millie and Riley's dancing school, they have like 3 or 4 recitals, but Millie was only in the one that was at the exact same time as Terry's.
Yeah. So we watched it until I said to Jen, text me when it's intermission to see if I should still be where I'm at. But we got to see Millie's both dances, and then we left and drove to the other one, and we got to see, they did a beautiful number for me, Over the Rainbow, and all the little ballerinas bowed to me at the end, and then they gave me white roses that are still alive a week later.
Yeah.
And then we went to Chrissy's afterwards and hung out and talked to all the people from the past, which was really nice to do.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
day. It
was
fun.
And then the next day we had your follow-up with Dr. Lynn because you had scans, and basically she confirmed what we thought we knew, which was that there was some growth, obviously. You haven't been off chemo for a little while. They had said if everything stayed the same, then maybe we'd wait and put off radiation, but we knew the chances were slim, and that, of course, didn't happen. So,
yeah.
So radiation starts July 1st. So that's what that appointment confirmed.
Yeah. So we already went in on the 20th, and we did the CT sim. Jen and Jeff and Gail Ellsbury and Rick came with me, and they made a beautiful mask for my face that gets bolted to the table, and you're in it for like 15 minutes, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
I thought I could do it, but by the time...
Well, you did do it. They made the mask. Yeah, she's a trooper.
It was really hard.
Yeah, we'll show you what it looks like here.
Yeah, but you have to, lay still and not have your eyes open, and this thing is bolting you to the table. You can't move,
Which is the point of it. So you don't get tattooed because they mark the spots on the helmet where the radiation is going. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because, your neck is on this clear lucite thing, and so they have to get you to a certain spot, and that's when they bolt, then they'll bolt it to that. I think they bolt it to that.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of dangling off the back of your head isn't resting on anything.
Oh, okay.
And then, but you got to keep your chin down.
Huh.
So when she made it, she's like, I'm going to move you around to get it to where I need the mask to be. And then I just need you to keep your chin down.
Okay.
So wherever my neck laid on that thing, she'd push my head or she'd push the mask to get it to be, because it's a flat piece that they bring over to you, and then they mold it to your face. So that we signed all the consents for the study, and next week we start some of the testing for the study. So
And then July 1st through the 22nd, you have radiation 5 days a week except for 4th of July.
Yep.
So that's what it looks like.
That's it.
Amazingly, that's enough. What do you think?
That's a lot.
It is. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment down below if you have any questions or somehow we missed something. Let us know.
And whoever you pray to or say thoughts to, make sure they spare my brain when they do all of this stuff and they don't hit anything important. I want to be able to remember you all.